mean to make fun of the way somebody looked. I was gonna, oh shit, close the door. It's a really good door too hard. The door. Lieutenant Buttfuck, get the door. Tell the world. Oh, that's the worst thing. I hope the baby doesn't see that. If my son Rowan and son Ivan heard that, it might not be that bad. But the baby, I don't want her to hear that. She's 6. Do this. What are you gonna do? I'll break your legs, motherfucker. I'll break your legs if you don't. I'll break your legs and show you the door. No. No. I look like total shit. Don't show his face. Don't show his face. Okay, show his face. Hi. Teen on, teen on, Tay. Get down, stay down, beat man. Get down, stay down, beat down. Oh, that's awful. Somebody wants to beat my ass down, maybe. Cause like I acted in here, I was angry. And then I got, I don't know. It's in thoughts. People have thoughts. All of us have thoughts. It's normal. It doesn't mean you're crazy to have thoughts. You may get a thought of someone's voice saying something, and is that hearing voices or just a thought of someone who maybe said something? I don't know. I'm gonna turn the I'm gonna put this. I'm not gonna show anything in the picture. We're making a blank screen and talk. I'm going to sleep. Actually, I'll show myself. Show myself in the bed. I'm in a bed. I am nice. Yo. Hi, Mama. Danica. That's what she probably doesn't. When she hears Mama, she thinks it's one of the kids calling her that. I don't know if she'll ever be with me again. Yo. I don't know if she'll ever be with me again. Hi. Itching my foot. I'm itching my foot. I'm in a bed. No. I sounded like an old crazy person. I sounded like one of those old crazy women who's like 60 years old and she plays with dolls. But not like, no, that sounded like Mr. Rogers and those little dolls he played. Say like Anne Margaret. That actress or famous person, Anne Margaret, she looked really good when she was young. But when I first found out who she was, I saw her when she was like 62 or 42. Maybe 42. Yo. I should just stop eating food. They don't look really good. I don't know what that would look like. Anne Margaret. Anne Margaret! Yay! No! Margaret, yay! After they've been through so much, like, scary ups and downs, or just awful things that felt so bad, they just, they just want to feel okay and just be like kind and nice and and at peace. Stupid shit. And they want to go, yay, play dolls. Like, imagine like an old guy saying it, like an old retarded man. That would suck. But I don't have any of those. Mental handicap stuff, because I've had to like survive now and get the work done to this house so I can leave or whatever. And I had a really bad breakdown. I made a video before this, and it was really mean. I said all this mean shit and acted like I had vampire teeth and was really angry and mean and bad. And I was pissed off, and I had to drive all the way to my mom's house to say happy birthday, and I didn't want to go. And then she wasn't even there. And I was so mean just to get in the car and just to be able to get to my goal of saying happy birthday to her on her birthday. And I thought she'd be angry. I should have just not gone, because I forgot that she wouldn't tell me happy birthday on my actual birthday. She didn't want us to enjoy her happy birthday on her birthday. But then, like, the next day or a few days later, she'd throw a huge birthday party for us, make a custom cake, and all this other stuff. I just don't want to think about her or my dad once I get out of here, once I leave town or whatever it's called. Good old town. Somebody's pissed. I like it here. There's this guy I was friends with from West Virginia. He talked like this, and he was like Vincent Price or somebody like that. Like, he was like he was like a tall. I hope to God he's okay. I hope he quit smoking cigarettes. He took out his, I don't know. He's Charles Franklin Owens. He was in my video Blood at the Beach, at Virginia Beach. If you look it up, he's this tall guy. He was like almost like, he has a southern voice, really kind man. And I got along with him as a friend. I made friends with him. He talked like this, but he didn't have a lisp. He just talked like this, and Charles Franklin Owens, but he was from West Virginia, and I think his dad was rich or something. And his dad let him start a funeral parlor one time. And his dad let him start a funeral parlor, and then he happened to show up in Roanoke when I did this live show playing with Corey and a band, and my friend Charles Cullen was there. Charles Cullen, the local filmmaker, not the bad guy who would kill anyone or anything bad, the serial killer, but the filmmaker Charles Cullen, and everything was nice again. And so but before this video, I got really angry, and I had to go like try to see my mom on her birthday, and I didn't want to go, and I felt really bad and angry all of a sudden. Like she was angry that I didn't see her on her birthday or something, and I didn't know what it was, and I started being really mean. And then I drove there, it was crazy. I haven't gotten in a car wreck in 23 years. And in the 90s, like, it was to the year 2000, it was awful. I got in one more car wreck. And then once I was with my wife, I just started driving really passive and on the defensive, and just carefully and slow, and followed the law really well. But in the 90s, I used to drive crazy, like really crazy, they said. My friends, I don't know why. And I got speeding tickets and wrecked cars. It was awful. And it was really crazy, and I felt so bad, and I filmed a video before this, and for the first time in 23 years, I drove that way, and I almost wrecked my car on this road. I don't know what happened. I drove a little bit fast. I was probably hopefully going the speed limit. I didn't notice my speed, and I almost wrecked my car or something, and it was just
I felt like this turmoil, this inner turmoil, but good health. Uh, this good health, Al tries to pretend, I don't know. And I tried to go. I went all the way to my dad's house, and I felt like, how did I make it there? And then my dad was angry because when I pulled the into the driveway, I thought some big mean thing against him. I don't know why. When I finally made it there, it was like, and so he was angry at me, and he said some mean things like I never worked, I never worked at all, and he said my house was in neglect and stuff, and I had just done work on it for 7 years, full time work, and I just felt really sad about that. But I don't know who smokes cigarettes. That guy Charles Franklin Owens, he should quit smoking cigarettes, and I think he'll live way longer. He's really tall, and he owned a funeral parlor, and he has a mustache, and he talks like Vincent Price or somebody like that. He liked these cheap horror movies, these of the '60s, and he liked old these weird the weird horror movies from the '60s that were like B or C movies, and for some reason he went to my show when I played guitar. He's from West Virginia, and his dad had like supposedly a mansion and all these little trailer homes on it, and they're rich. But he said, "Oh, I live in another home," and he acted like it was a mansion and all this. And then when I saw, somehow I noticed I saw pictures of it or something, because he wouldn't. I think I made it to his house. I don't know. Yeah, I think I made it to his house because I let him borrow my Cadillac when I was trying to move to Los Angeles one time in 2015, and I let him borrow my Cadillac because he liked classic cars and he knew how to work on them. For his dad and their family, they knew that stuff. They're from the South and they just worked on cars more. And I thought he was rich, but then he just lived in a trailer at his dad's house. But his dad owned a big home, and his dad had money. His dad just paid for him, and he didn't have to work at all. And he was like 43 back then, and I was in my 30s. And his dad had money, but it wasn't like they were like really rich, or if they were, they might have had millions of dollars. I don't know. And he let him start a funeral parlor business, and he actually made money at it and was the head of the funeral parlor. And he liked like kind of horror stuff and stuff, kind of weird stuff. But he is nice and kind. But he was scary one time because when we went to Blood at the Beach, I had to sleep in the same hotel room as him, and he was in a different bed, and we got different hotel rooms, and for some reason I had to sleep in the same room as him, I think. And then I just left the room. I couldn't be in the same room as him. I think I got my own room because I was afraid of him. Because at night he when he slept, he sounded like a scary, like a vampire or somebody like that, and it was really scary. And I guess it's just how it was, and maybe it's because his dad had a bunch of money. But no, they're usually nice. I guess they'd be nice, but I was afraid of him, and I had to leave. And one time I was afraid of Danica. Like she got really angry at me, and they used to pretend to be Illuminati when people were afraid of the Illuminati. Like her dad and her, people thought they were Illuminati, and I almost thought it too, even though God wanted me to be married to her, and I used to be afraid of her and her dad. I was afraid of her dad for like 15 years, and I thought he was so rich he had like hundreds of millions of dollars. I thought he had like $100 million, and I thought he was in the Illuminati. And then I found out he doesn't have that much money, but he just acted that way and stuff. And then one time, Danica and I were living in an apartment when I went to school at Chapman University, and she um oh, the power all of a sudden went out all at one time at night, and I was in the bed with her, and I pulled the blankets all over myself to cover up myself, and I didn't try to protect her at all. I pulled the blankets over myself because I was really scared, because she was kind of scary to me, like her and her dad and their ways and stuff. And my mom and dad were never that way, but they were like I thought they had more money than us, like way more money than us. But then my mom and dad started making more money, and then I don't know who has more money now. But my dad never acted weird like an Illuminati or a scary guy from a horror movie or anything when he was just standing there to like frighten people. But Danica's dad, his mom died when she was really young. She killed herself, and so he tried to he tried to like reach out to ghosts, and he tried to get her back in his life to reach out to ghosts, and then he was like tormented that his mom killed herself, and then he tried to invite ghosts into his life, and it made it even more like almost like a horror, and but it wasn't that bad, and so he was just like tormented by it, but he didn't do anything mean. He didn't do anything mean to anyone else, but it was like it tormented him because he didn't know any better and he missed his mom. So when he was a little kid, he tried to reach out to her to get her in his life as ghosts. So in their family, they believed in ghosts, and it was really weird. It was really weird because like when we were kids in the 90s, like as teenagers, people talked about ghosts and stuff. And there's this place that we'd go, Happy Hollow, and they'd say there are ghosts in there and stuff. And we went to some old building with my sister Taze's friend, and it was like kind of out in the country. They had another place kind of out in the country. That was the only other place that I'd ever been to that far out in the country. We had to walk really far, and it was like away from society. But it was closer into town in Roanoke, and it just happened to be like away from stuff. And we did like a ghost. We called out to ghosts there using like a piece of paper to try, or like one of those, maybe a Ouija board, and that stuff's bad. That is bad stuff. That's the occult. You don't want to use any of that stuff ever. The occult, that's bad. And that's what kids would, sometimes they try to reach out to ghosts, but it's wrong because it's like inviting in demons. It's inviting in demons. It's inviting in demons. And so demons are bad spirits, and they're actually fallen angels, I think. I think they're fallen angels. They're one of the 330 million fallen angels that fell with the devil to hell, and to earth and then hell, and then but I don't know what a fallen angel really means, and I have to really look up what it says in the Bible about it, because I like that song, that Poison song, Mama's Fallen Angel, but that's bad. It made my heart hurt to say that right now. That's really bad. I don't even like that song at all. I don't know. I don't like it. Corey would say stuff like, when I texted Corey, we'd just say stuff like a joke. Woman's pussy. But it was awful. It was awful. If my kids heard that, it would be so awful if they watched this video. I've been alone for maybe 6 years. Since 2018. It's been about 5 years. And then 3 years before that, and 4 years before that. And this is awful. I've talked about the same things again and again. I'd like to be with her and the kids. And if there's some way I could just get by on $2,000 a month, I could stay here and calm down and not be so crazy. But I don't know what to do for a job. Maybe I can look for one now and then I don't have to leave. I said this mean ass, almost evil stuff trying to leave here just now. I drove away really fast, almost wrecked my car. And I said the meanest stuff, like, I'll send y'all to hell or something, damn you, and all this mean ass shit. And I made a video about it too, and said mean stuff, and I'm afraid to look at it. But maybe there's some miracle, some way I can just stay here but it would be so alone. I don't want to spend another winter alone here. I don't want to spend another winter alone. But if there's some way I could be married to, like, if she was, I don't know if she's ever going to move back. It's been 6 years, she hasn't come home. I'm just tired of feeling like shit from this stuff and having anxiety and pretending I don't like sex and stuff like that. And then, like, just feeling like they try to put men near me and stuff instead. It just felt awful. And I'd like to just, like, whoever, not my mom and dad, they're not bad. But, like to actually get to be with a wife for her and the kids. And if she's not going to be with me, I might just have to meet somebody new. When I go to California, I might literally get a girlfriend, and she might be in all the videos, and I am not going to get some girlfriend who doesn't want to be famous. It's going to be somebody who actually likes the famous stuff and can work at it, and it's for God and Jesus, and it's okay for her to do, not some mean-ass person who did it for the wrong reasons. And that's what kind of woman I like. That's one of the reasons why I liked my wife at first. I found out she was one of the best at the school in the videos stuff, or in the films. She made one of the best films at the end of the year thing or whatever. And I was like, that made me really like her. And then also just in nature, I was attracted to her. And then when I'd be away from her, I would miss her because I loved her a bunch. So that's why I liked her, but it has been awful talking about getting back together and she wouldn't. So I'll just meet it. I'm ready to meet a girlfriend. But I don't think anyone has the ambitions like I do to where they had to do movie stuff and be famous. Like I don't think they even care. I think they might just really want to start a family and not even really care. So I want to find somebody who really actually wants to do that stuff. Who's in love with me. I think I'm gonna have to look really good to get somebody who I'm actually attracted to, because my standards are so high, and I don't want somebody who has way too high standards. So then if I gain weight, then I want somebody who likes me even if I gain weight, but I don't want to look like shit and feel bad. I'd like to look the same as whoever they are, so I look like as attractive as the woman who I'm with. But Charles Franklin Owens, I don't know why, I was thinking about him. I gotta tell him to stop smoking cigarettes. He might not. I'm gonna write to him. But I don't want to walk over to the computer, but maybe I should start doing push-ups again. I gotta start working out more. I think I'll go to the computer, but I think I have to do push-ups. So I'm gonna do that. Hey, there's 3 people watching. Giving head, guys. Hey, giving head. I'm a lesbian. Yeah. Hey, guys. Giving head. No. Hey, guys, I'm in the club giving head. Oh shit, that would be forcing a lesbian to be straight. That would be really bad. It was awful how I was like one of those homophobe, stupid ass people back here in 2015, and so I'd rather just go to LA or something, but I don't have to be that way anymore. But it really happened to me here. Stop showing my face, pretending I'll look bad because of what I did back then. They threatened me with 400 years and kept alive with genetic manipulation and very real hellish facilities under the ground. And some of them were thousands of years old, really horrifying, and some of them were really rich, brand new, huge facilities underground, like the newest, like most horrific Illuminati stuff. And I could see it, but I didn't go down there. But I could see the hell stuff coming up from the surface, and they horrified me with it. And if they're gonna do all kinds of genetic. See, the way they kept people alive in hell is very real. There's a real way the devil did it.
it's that he was like, you know how Hitler used genetic manipulation? He found a way to literally keep people's bodies alive for that long, like with genetic experimentation and stuff. But he's a devil, and he's more brilliant. And he was very real on Earth, so he probably had like a 20,000 IQ or something. And he was like, um, so the way that I thought I'd end up in hell, what was going to happen to me was about 400 years of it in hell, because I did some kind of like not that bad mean stuff, but pretty mean stuff in California to like try to make everyone like, I tried to use lesser magic. I thought it was lesser magic, but I think it wasn't, but I don't know. And I read this occult book and I tried to use lesser magic, and I never did a satanic ritual, but it's like really bad. It was like thinking about however you want things to be in real life and trying to act it out with the emotions that you do, but instead of actually doing the work, like instead of like it was bad because you could also do it to hurt others and do negativity to others to hurt them, and that was the problem. That's the problem with those occult books. It wasn't just like The Secret saying, when I do this, it's gonna give me like, you know, if I do it with all my might as hard as I can, I want, you know, like that's not going to become real when you use all your might to make things real. So I've had to do all the work now because I abused The Secret, and then I don't even get to like visualize it making as much, or think about it with all my heart, having the best, highest results possible. I have to leave all that up to God and Jesus, or I had to, and I think now I'm finally able to get my will back to make things like better. Like after I did all the work, I can try to believe in it to do really well after I do the work again. I think I can do that again. That's another reason I was going to leave to California, because here it was like I just had to do whatever work God wanted me to do, and it made me like depressed because I couldn't work on my films and I had to do the other stuff, and I don't know. But the lesser magic crap was bad because I tried to like make world peace with everyone holding hands, and America even being friends with the terrorists, and every last one friends, and everyone getting along, and tolerance of diversity, and a utopian, beautiful world, like almost like heaven but on earth. And there's sin on earth, so it can't ever, well, until Judgment Day, it can't be that way. And so I wanted everyone to get along, and kindness to minorities, and everyone being friends, and every last kid in the classroom being okay enough feeling to where they're not looked down on. And I didn't want any kid in the classroom to feel left out or made fun of, and I wanted everyone to be okay. But no, you know, that means something different now. Okay, like people are not really okay. You know, that means something kind of different now. And so that was so I tried to use lesser magic to do it because I read this stupid occult book, and I was so kind my entire life up until I felt like I was under so much stress to I was working about as much as 3 full-time jobs. I had a full-time internship. I was driving 6 or 7 hours a day to the internship and to school, and I had full-time school. And so that was at Chapman University, and I had a scholarship there. So it was too much for me to go through, and it was in 2004 or 2003, and I started having chest pains, because I couldn't do it all, but no one let me know. Like it felt like it wasn't enough because my dad was still helping me with the tuition, and it was just too hard to do. And so I went kind of crazy because I thought I was going to die, and I didn't really have God and Jesus as much, so I became misled in my faith. And for the first time in my life, after all these schools and feeling like they looked down on me a little bit here and there, but it was okay sometimes, I started being intentionally mean to others for personal gain. It was awful. I learned it from some occult book, and I started being intentionally mean to others, like for the first time in my life, to try to get personal gain, and that's bad. And that gave me all the depression. That gave me depression when I got back to Roanoke, and it caused me to want to die, and I was gonna like buy a gun and kill myself. But I had never been depressed before then, and so it caused depression. when you're mean to others, it can cause depression. And so I was mean to others, but the political ideas I stood up for were really good, really good. And I would go out there around people, and I was like a super athlete, and I gained 40 pounds of muscle, and I was like a mean, athletic liberal vegan, really ethical vegan, and I didn't care if meat eaters died, and I didn't care if meat eaters died. It was awful because I thought they're killers. I thought they're killers. They're killing those innocent animals. So I didn't care if it died. I was kind of mean, but I didn't really think that about meat eaters, but once or twice I did. Most of the time I didn't want them to die, but one time I said that, and Danica remembered that I said it, and then I may have said it another time. And then they really got me back in Roanoke, and they made me eat all these heavy meats. It sucked. And they made me be way more mean in Roanoke, but because I didn't have God and Jesus. But when I did the lesser magic stuff, that was like waving my arm and making somebody fat. Like there's this like jock through the wall who's really strong, and I was skinny in my apartment. When I finally got my own apartment and quit the internship and I was feeling a little bit better, I'd wave my arm. It was awful. It was almost like magic, and it was lesser magic. It wasn't like a satanic ritual or anything. It wasn't like people with cloaks in a basement. It was really bad. And like my neighbor, he'd walk in, he'd act better than me, like a cool jockey who's muscular and strong, and I was skinny. and I did this to him. I'd wave my entire arm. I'd wave my entire arm and go, like I'd try to make him as fat as I could with the most powerful, like all the strength and might or everything I had, and I tried to see fat. And then and then it was bad. And then by the time I moved out of the apartment, when I left the school, he had gained a little bit of fat. He was hanging in there and stuff, and somehow it made him fat. So that made me want to die. It gave me depression. I almost went to a gun shop and killed myself because I started being mean to almost everyone. Because before then, I thought I was going to die of a heart attack, and it was really bad. And I had chest pains, but it was just panic attacks. It was panic attacks. And I thought since I was going to die, I got so worried, and I didn't have God and Jesus as much. I didn't believe in God and Jesus like I do now. So I got misled in my faith. I wasn't that bad. I just tried to make him fat. Like I just tried to make him fat. And then I noticed every last person, before I became mean towards others intentionally for personal gain a little bit. I was like a mean liberal. Before I did that, like I noticed every last person everywhere I went looked down on me, and they're mean to me, and they didn't care if I died of a heart attack or looked old and stuff. I started thinking I looked old, and I was only 23, and even an old lady, an innocent old lady, like walked past me and didn't care if I died or what happened to me, and I was like, and something went wrong with me, and I thought I'll just start being really mean to all of them intentionally for personal gain. And it's bad. It's like it was from some occult book, an occult book I read. And then I had all these really new political ideas of like, I just didn't like how America had been. And I wanted to end war, and like ideas like John Lennon. And I thought I'd get to be president. And so I had these ideas of like world peace, tolerance of diversity is what I called it, unity, a utopian world, everyone holding hands in peace, no more war anywhere, and even getting along with the terrorists. That was one of my ideas, even get along with the terrorists to where none of them hurt one another and just all made friends. And they're nice to minorities and everyone. And then I would write to thousands of people, like these big producers and stuff in LA, and everywhere I'd go, I'd try to tell everyone about it and stuff a little bit. I just sent these huge emails to all these people in the entertainment industry and all these other people, but I didn't really. They probably don't. Most of them didn't even know what it was, and I sent these mass emails to everyone I knew, like everyone I knew back home, everyone in Roanoke,
everyone I could send an email to, and I said, everyone holding hands in peace. And there's this like Indian thing that was called the Global Oneness, just some random thing, and I thought it was like so cool. And I would be like John Lennon or something. It was kind of like what it was like, and like peace and love or something. But I had a girlfriend, Danica, and I only was with her. We were faithful for the first 8 years we were together, and so I tried to push all that stuff out in California, like everyone kindness and good. And I thought by the year 2012 I'd be president, and I thought I'd be the youngest president to have ever lived. And I tried to make my school get more and more famous and big. Like even after I left, I tried to get it more famous and big and pushed with all I had to try to get. And then it was the number 13 school when I was there, and now it's up to the number like 5 or 6. It's film school, so it got better. But and then so Danica was there, and she was nice, and she thought I was mean. She thought I was mean. She didn't understand why I started being mean, and and then so no no and so then what I did was she got angry. I threw a controller at the wall, and it like bounced off and hit her in the head. And so she broke up with me and went up to Los Angeles to try to do acting or something. But she really just wanted to have kids and get married. And she didn't like it up there and felt alone. And then I left the school and went up to stay with her. And then I was still getting my degree at the school and had to just finish my movie. And we finished filming the movie Crazy Animal. And then I just missed her so much. I had to get an apartment near her, and it was this shitty little one, and I felt poor and bad. And she had an apartment near the freeway, and it sounded like a freeway really loud. And I couldn't take the way it sounded. This awful apartment she got, and so I started gaining a little weight instead of being like really famous and ripped and in good shape and really good looking or something, or like really good looking and like Brad Pitt in his prime or something like that. I stopped like working out every day because I felt alone without her, and she just wanted to get married and have kids. So then instead of being really famous, like I ended up gaining I gained 7 pounds by the time I filmed most of the movie. So I wasn't like really athletic. I looked amazing. I looked in really good shape. Like I had this square pecs, and like I could shape it into almost these like different cool looks, like depending on the weights I was doing. It was amazing. I weighed about 177 pounds, and I was like a really athlete, but I was almost a super athlete. And I'd work out like just 2 hours a day, but every day. And then I tried to produce an entire movie at the school, and it was so much work to make an entire movie all on my own that I gained about 7 pounds. And then we went up to LA and finished filming the movie from our cheap little apartments. And I started she let me finally go back to her apartment again, and she wasn't angry that I threw the controller at the wall and it hit her head. And and then she she wanted to have kids and get married, but I didn't really want to yet, and we had been together 6 years. And so I missed her so much. I felt like I was gaining more weight and just felt awful, and it felt like everything came back to me, that all the meanness that I was doing of like waving my hand trying to make somebody fat or being mean to people as I passed by them. It was awful. One thing I did, some kid who went to the school, I just thought the meanest stuff I could to him when I was walking past him. I don't know why, and it was just awful. And so it made me gain weight and feel bad, and I just felt really bad. I'm like poor in this little cheap apartment, and I felt like people thought I was stupid, and I just felt really bad. And somehow I finished the movie anyway. And then she wanted to get married and have kids, and I wasn't really ready because I wanted to do the famous stuff in LA. And so what she did was, she said she wanted to get married and have kids, or she wouldn't be with me. And I loved her so much I couldn't be without her. So I said, okay, I'll get married and have kids. And then I thought I'd move back to Roanoke when the movie was done filming, because I didn't like hearing the highway, and it was really loud. And I moved back in with her and quit the other apartment. And it was this little apartment. Well, she had a 1 bedroom, so it was okay, but it was just this really loud highway, and my dad wanted me to get a job, and I didn't know how I'd edit the entire movie. I didn't know when I'd get time to do it. So my mom and dad said I could live in Roanoke, and they let me have my own house, this little ranch that was kind of in the woods, and they didn't give it to me the house. They just let me stay in one of the rental houses, and I wanted to live out in the woods and play my drums loud, and I thought I could be with my friends from high school and party and make videos and stuff, but not really party, but they just wouldn't do it. And so I stayed with my wife and made and had kids. So we got married and moved back home to Virginia. I gained like 20 pounds, so I didn't look like really famous anymore. And I went on MySpace, and my old pictures of me and like with abs and stuff, I'd like post them and act like I was really cool on MySpace. And I added a bunch of friends. Like I'd add them one at a time. And I didn't have to work that hard because my mom and dad were happy that I was back home. So I got to like promote my videos and stuff, and then I started YouTube the year after that in 2006. But then I got depressed because I had to work as a real estate agent, and all the depression came back to me. I was in a small town, and I didn't get famous, and I gained weight, and I had to be a real estate agent. I still look good, but I was about 20 pounds fatter than when I was like in really good shape, like kind of like Brad Pitt in his prime, something like that. I was about that. I literally looked about that kind of physique, and it was awful though. But I found with strength training, that strengthened my body and tendons and everything. So I used to have this like hernia feeling because when I was a little kid, I had a hernia. I was worried about it as I got older and had to be bedridden one time when I taught myself how to edit for 9 months. And then after that, I went to the school and did all the more work and the 3 jobs, and it was too much. And it was like too much for me to do. So I started having chest pains, and I thought it was a heart attack at first and I was going to die. And I just started being mean to others intentionally, and tried to feel better. It was awful. And then so it made me depressed when I got back to Roanoke. I had a midlife crisis because I had to be a real estate agent in a small town and wear a suit. I literally had to wear an entire suit. Like I didn't know how to fit in with them well enough, so I thought I'll just wear an entire suit. And it was like, it just didn't make me feel good. And my mom got to find all the deals, and I had to be like her number one support. I was like her assistant, even though I was a real estate agent. And it was so much. It was like this big patience and holding back from personal gratification of eating food or feeling my best. And we had to do this big stuff, and I had to be her like biggest emotional support through it. And it just made me really depressed to have to go out there every day and do that. And I couldn't get clients on my own. And the one person I tried to actually get a client on my own, they got angry at me and acted like I did something wrong. And then I got in trouble one time when I just talked to this other real estate agent, and they wouldn't let me be a real estate agent at some office, maybe go to another office. And I just didn't like it. And I started hoping to die. And then I'm wondering if Obama was in office yet, or if it was George Bush. I don't know. I think Obama ran for office, and they put Obama in instead of me because I had moved back home and I couldn't be president. My resume looked like crap compared to a president. And so I didn't get to be famous. My plan was to get really famous in Hollywood first and then get to be president, the youngest president who ever lived by the time I was 35 in the year 2012. That was my plan. And then instead, I just moved back home, started a family, gained weight, and a little bit of weight, but I still looked attractive and good. I just had about 20 pounds of fat on top of the super in shape, really good looking, like really good shape body. It looked like, like somebody like a natural bodybuilder or something like that. But I only pulled that off for about 2 years, and sometimes I'd gain a little fat. You couldn't see abs as much, but I did it for about 2 years. And then I didn't get famous doing it, but I made an entire movie, and I had to edit the movie, so I just went back home. We got married, had kids, and I got to edit a movie anyway. And then instead of me getting to be the coolest famous one in Hollywood, I went back home and had to be like work as a real estate agent and work for my mom and dad, and it just, I don't even want to think about my mom and dad anymore. It feels like shit, kind of. I don't like talking about him, thinking about him. I associate it with like the mean way I was and having to fit in with like big mean Republican stuff. When Republican stuff's good, but I was, when it was really me and the things I believed in, like in California, um, it was like world peace, kindness to others, tolerance of diversity, kindness to minorities, nice to gays, nice to everyone on earth, kindness, like it's like a utopian, beautiful world without, being gay with anyone or anything like that. Like I didn't have any gay tendency at all. I had zero gay tendency personally, but kindness to others. I don't know if that was one of the things I stood up for or not, but kindness to everyone, no matter how different they were, and everyone getting along like a utopian world, because I was tired of how things were in the 90s with like how they looked down on the cool music I liked and dressing different in rock star stuff, like, or punk music and stuff that I thought was cool back then growing up. And that's what I really like was hoping to do. And so I went to all this school and learned filmmaking, and that's art, and I like it, and it's really good. And so now I can make big musical movies, and I don't have to go on tour. Like those musicians, I don't know how I would have made a living if I had to do it based on going on tour the rest of my life, because I don't like going to all those places on tour. I don't know if I would have been able to do that. And who knows? I may have died or something if I didn't know about filmmaking. Because now to do all the filmmaking in Los Angeles or outside of here, I've done indie films. It just hasn't made enough money, and so I don't know why they put a black guy who's like almost a Muslim, who's gay, or not at all. But maybe he's just a regular straight black guy. Maybe he's a regular black guy, Obama. But he got really unpopular after by the time his second term was almost done. He got really unpopular. He's not as cool as everyone thought he was when he was first voted in the first two times. He was normal and okay. And I think people weren't against him. Besides, Republicans hated him. They thought he was Muslim. Like some Republicans hated him. They thought he was Muslim, gay, and black. And they just really didn't like him. And they wanted to see his birth certificate. That was a big thing about him. They wanted to see his birth certificate. I hate that shit. I just don't want to ever want to think about it again. And like how like it's like if you don't go along with their like, I don't know. It's not really like that here anymore. But they got really pissed that Obama was there, and then they wanted me to it's like they thought since I had the effect of like trying to go big and change the way things were by like writing to everyone, if I even did that, unless I'm crazy, maybe I'm just crazy. And I was planning to be the most different president ever, like somebody like John F. Kennedy or John Lennon or somebody like that. But I don't like John Lennon. He might be down in hell, or maybe I like John Lennon. I don't know, because he didn't believe in God, or he was like, maybe he believed in God. I don't know. The Beatles are okay, but some people think he's in hell because he said, "Imagine a world with no religion." But he said, he wanted everyone to get along and not have war. That's about how I was, and so instead of me getting to be some president, for some random ass reason, they chose somebody like Obama instead of me getting to be president after I got to do all the cool famous stuff I liked. Because I was so young, I was like 25 in grad school, and I thought, I'll get to be really famous, do all the cool famous stuff I ever wanted to do, and then I'll get to be president and be the youngest president who ever lived. It just didn't work out that way. And instead I moved back home and barely got famous, or got kind of famous, and then they got pissed or something by Obama's second term, and I think they wanted to like put it back to the old white Republican ways or something. I don't care. I don't know. Who cares? I feel like shit right now. I'm just gonna drink this beer. I don't care about politics that much. I mean, it's okay. They really do a really good job. They can change the world or make America a better place, and it's really real work they do. But some of them are just liars, and I don't know. So I'd rather just never want to be president. That was Danica's dad's dream. I think being president, and like he couldn't get to do it, so he tried to get us to do it and his family, and he tricked us into thinking that's what we wanted to do, and he tricked me, I think. And I thought it was cool to be president. And after I met her dad, like I used to have sideburns in the '90s, like I just thought it was cool. I had sideburns, and after I met her dad, I cut my sideburns short, like Tom Cruise or Arnold Schwarzenegger. And in the '90s, I thought Schwarzenegger was too, like, I didn't like him as much because I thought, is he really telling the truth? Like, how is he really? He was just this like huge like businessman into like being way strong, and I just wasn't into that stuff. And I like rock star stuff and cool things. And he was like a huge GI Joe, like Al said, he was like a huge GI Joe. But then after I met Danica's dad, who was really into America stuff, somehow I cut my sideburns short. It was like more like the all American Top Gun stuff, like Tom Cruise and Arnold Schwarzenegger. And then oh, and then they got cool later, I guess, because like people like me started liking him who were like more into like I don't know what. But then it was like cool that Arnold Schwarzenegger had long hair or whatever. Who knows? And then praise Jesus, praise the Lord, and praise the Lord, praise Jesus, and I'm drinking a beer. I'm drinking beer like the old days. I'm drinking beer like the old days. You drinking beer? You drinking beer like the old days? No. I hate thinking about Obama and shit like that. I'd rather just be in California. They don't give a shit about any of it. Like the Kardashians or something. Like, oh, they're a minority. They're Illuminati and they'll kill you and they're N-words. Like Obama, he's a Muslim. I don't like it. I'd rather just live in LA and do cool stuff I like stuff like Slash and Axl. Get to be in Guns N' Roses or who knows. This guy's probably way sinful. I can't even mention his name. But like, wonder who else I can get in the videos. I got scared. And like, I was misled in my faith. I grew a goatee and it almost looked like the devil or something. Like I had like a dark colored goatee and it almost looked like the devil or something. And that was when I did the lesser magic stuff, like little stuff to try to be mean to people in little ways, one at a time. Like if I noticed them and they're mean to me or something, I'd try to like be mean to them. and I tried to use it to like get strong or something. And I only did it for about a year or two, and then it caused me to be depressed. Praise God, praise Jesus. Praise God, praise Jesus. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I guess they'll just have to go to Los Angeles because she didn't come home with the kids. I never really partied that much. I'm a nerd. I worked on this house. Granddaddy's rocking chair. The young man rocking chair, if I could actually say young man and not be bad. Or to be on the porch with in California, because that shit's horrifying to me. Like this, like the racial hate. I feel more comfortable in California and not giving a shit about that shit. Everyone in California looked me in the eyes, and even though I was Italian and had really black hair back then, there was never anything that made them think, oh, there's something wrong with me. I never felt like an ethnic minority. They had people there like that, who that was like a big part of their lives. And many of them didn't do as well financially, but there are some of them that did really well and just cool people and good people. And some of them made like $100 million I've seen now in videos. But I didn't ever meet anyone mean the entire time I was in California. And they looked me right in the eyes and assumed I was white or it didn't matter at all. It didn't matter at all. And everyone did that to me the entire time I was there, besides this one day when this girl who was like really blonde, I don't know what it was, I felt bad about the way my body hair looked, like in a way that I'd had back here for being Italian. And that's happened to me many times here for being Italian. And they just think differently here than in California. There's none of that in California. When I was there, even down in Orange where it's a little more racist, like they're against Mexicans a little. Like they have these skinheads, they have these neo-Nazis there. They have real neo-Nazis in Orange, California. They don't like Mexicans. It was awful. I got a little bit racist against Mexicans when I was there, and I stood up for black people intentionally instead. And I cast a person in my movie Crazy Animal. This was awful how bad I was back then to do this. I cast somebody with a Latin American name, Chris Pastros. I called the character Chris Pastros, and I intentionally cast an Italian as him instead of a Latino. I was angry at Latinos. I don't know what happened to me there in Orange, California. I became kind of like the racist ways. And then, because they had all these Mexican people who lived below me, and I kicked them out of the apartment because there were like 5 of them in a 1-bedroom apartment. I could hear them, and it annoyed me. Something about it annoyed. I sound like Hitler or something, and it like annoyed me. And I told on them, and they made him leave. And then this white guy moved there with his girlfriend and her mother, and he was like a white trash guy. And he looked like he was like in his 20s. He looked my age. I was in my 20s, but he was 38. and he annoyed me. I couldn't take hearing their voices. And this was an awful thing that I did when I used that lesser magic stuff. This is what people out there do. I don't do it at all anymore. I found God in Jesus. I'm really kind. But before I made this video earlier today, I got really mean and angry and had this like fit of anger. Like every once in a while, that might happen if I drink a bunch of caffeine or something. And most all the time, I'm really kind and good. And but I got really mean earlier today. I don't know what happened. It was really weird. But that guy moved down, and the 5 Mexicans who weren't allowed to be there anyway, because they were like, it was a Mexican family of 5, and they tried to live in a 1-bedroom apartment. And I counted how many of them were, and it was awful. I made them leave because I didn't like hearing their voices. They annoyed me. And then yeah. and then this white guy who's like a white trash guy. And I don't know how they afforded the apartment. Him and his girlfriend or wife and her mom or something moved in. And he was like, I didn't like hearing their voices. And because I started being intentionally mean for the first time in my life, what I did was like, if I hadn't worked out all day and I happened to get home from studying or whatever at school, it was 2 a.m, I didn't give a fuck how I felt, or if I was sick, I didn't give a fuck. I'd pick up the heaviest weights and just start working out with weights. I didn't care if anyone heard me or anything. And if I felt like it would make my pecs look better and my body look better and my abs look better, I'd just throw the weights down on the ground and make a really loud sound and like scare the shit out of him. Didn't give a fuck if he was awake or not. And I was like mean a little bit, but then I would do this weird, really bad thing, and this was awful. And this is what why it made me want to kill myself when I got back to Roanoke. It made me depressed for the first time in my life. This is the worst thing I ever did, I think, back then in my life up till then. But I did steal shit when I was a teenager, and that made me feel awful for a year or two. But when that white trash guy, he was like 38, but he looked in his 20s, and he had some young girlfriend, and he lived with her, and her mom was there, and they were in an apartment downstairs. And he was 38, and I didn't like hearing them through the floor or hearing their voices, and so this was awful. What I would do, I'd pretend with all my heart and might that there's this hellish horror. He was killing people, and there's all this bloodshed and all this horror going on down where he lived, and it was all him, and he was a killer. And I pretended it was awful. It was really bad. I pretended like he was some killer, like as if he would just end up killing all these people and kill them and all this crazy ass shit, and it was all his fault. It was really bad. And then the worst ever thing happened. He kept writing Danica years later, and we were afraid of that he would know our address, and he found out her address, or our address at Old Garcimill Road, and he kept writing to her on MySpace, and we were worried he's going to come and kill her or something, and I was really worried, and then he stopped writing to her, and he wasn't really bad, but he annoyed me, so I told Danica to work, look out for that guy. He might be really bad, but I just said that because I didn't like hearing his voice, and he annoyed me. And then and I acted like he was a killer, like one of those serial killers that killed all these people down there, and I thought he was just gonna kill all or something, and I pretended I'd like pretend that it was like really him that had all the ideas, and I pretend it was like really real, and with all my might and heart I pretended that was really all him, and it was bad, and it was really bad, and I don't know why I did that, like, because it was really bad, and he could have ended up killing people or something, because I thought he was like this kind of like white trash guy, and he was just some regular guy in the apartment, and I just didn't like hearing someone's voice through the floor. It annoyed me, and I don't know why. And then I hated hearing workers, like laborers. I called them workers, and I didn't like that. And I thought I'd just be famous. And after school, when I was done graduating, I worked really hard at the school and making films. And worked really hard intentionally at the films, and I did good work. And I was kind of good, but for some reason, my dad, I didn't know he was back home working on houses to pay for my school and stuff. And but I had a scholarship. I had a scholarship to the school, and it wasn't that expensive. And actually, I was on student loans, but he did pay it back eventually. He was helping me with money. He was helping me with money a little. And there are these workers who worked on roofs across the street. These like Mexican workers on a roof, and I just kept pacing back and forth. We were on the corner apartment, and it had all these windows where everyone who drove past the on the road could see, and I would like take my shirt off and try to be as athletic as I could. And I liked the attention from feeling like everyone could see me on the road. And I had really good, like a really good body, really amazing shaped body. I almost got no pictures of it. I got one good picture of it. I used to not take pictures of myself and stuff back then, but I did make an entire movie. I was going to try to capture it all in an entire movie, and I gained 7 pounds. I gained 7 pounds, and it didn't look as good for Crazy Animal. But I had this amazing good shaped body, and I did get one picture of it. And these workers were on the roof across the street on some house, and it annoyed me so much just to hear them. I hated them or something. I hated them back then, and I don't hate them now. And like they throw the shingles down in meanness, and it hurt my heart or something. Like they throw the shingles down in meanness. Every little stupid thing they did was like some mean ass worker, and I hated all those workers that worked on stuff like that. I hated people that worked on houses. It was awful, and it made me, I paced back and forth hoping they'd finally go away. They made me feel really bad. And I'd like lift weights and watch MTV and study and do my schoolwork, and I'd watch MTV2 and try to like get motivated to make movies and stuff. And I actually got to watch TV back then. It was amazing getting to watch MTV too. I haven't watched TV, and I haven't watched TV since like 2014 or something. And then so I hated hearing workers. I didn't like it. I couldn't imagine ever going to some shit ass small town. I hated that shit. I couldn't imagine going to some small town. Like this kid who was a big football hero in high school, when I went back for Christmas to Roanoke one time, or for summer, I think it was summer, and of course, because he's mowing a lawn, he was mowing a lawn and had an old pickup truck, and he was pushing a push lawnmower in some regular neighborhood in some cheap house, or just some regular house, and I was like, oh man, he just failed in life. He is poor. And I thought he failed. He's like mowing a lawn with an old truck, and he has to literally mow a lawn. He's poor or something like that. And I didn't like any of that stuff. I hated it. And to me, that would be like I failed in life to have to do that for a living. Because I thought for sure if I just worked as hard as I can imagine at my films and doing movie making and stuff like that, I thought for sure I'd be really famous. And instead, I had to go back home, and by the time I was 30 years old, well, a year later after I got home, it was 2006. Well, I moved home in 2005. In 2006, I had to be a real estate agent, and it just felt awful in a small town wearing a suit every day, and I couldn't make films, and I started wanting to kill myself for the first time, and I called a gun shop and asked them what their hours were, and I kept having thoughts of killing myself every day, and I thought I was going to do it, and because I didn't get to be famous, and I had to move back to a small town, and Danica and the baby were there rowing. He was born. I love them. I really love them. And of course, I thought they'd always be there no matter what happened. And so and they still kind of are, but now they're like pretty far away. And then so in 2006, at the end of the year in December, this is how I made a movie. God helped me to make a movie. I found God again, and He let me make a movie. And I was really depressed. But before that, I was really depressed. I had to be a real estate agent in a small town wearing a suit, and it made me feel so bad that that's what happened to my life, and I didn't get to be famous after how hard I worked at it in California, and so I I called a gun shop to ask their hours, and I was gonna drive there and just buy a gun and kill myself because I didn't like what happened to my life. And then but I love Danica and the baby, and I still love them, and I love her and all three kids. But then I don't want to kill myself anymore. But it went on for about 2 weeks of wanting to kill myself every day. I never felt that bad. I never had to have that much depression. It only lasted about 2 weeks. And then it was from being mean out in California. At the end of my visit in California, I started being mean in the last year or two with that lesser magic crap that I've written in a cult book, like trying to be kind of mean to people, like a mean liberal. And 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 so when I got back to Virginia, I had to be a real estate agent. It made me feel awful. And so I called a gun shop, asked their hours, and then I wanted to kill myself every day. I thought I was gonna do it, and finally I couldn't take thinking about it anymore, and I broke down and cried. I don't know why I was in front of a mirror. I used to not really look at myself in the mirror. Oh yeah, I did when I worked out, when I was getting really athletic and stuff. But I didn't take pictures of myself in front of the mirror that much. But that's when I started. Actually, on MySpace, I did start taking pictures myself in front of a mirror. That was from the MySpace days of taking pictures. That's stupid as shit. You just, like, the cool people of the old days make an entire movie and then they're star and somebody else like operates the camera and stuff. It was just because I didn't get to be making a movie and somebody else filming it and stuff, and that was the only way I could get to be an actor or something like that, or someone like that. It's me, myself. And then so I don't know. And then so I was really depressed in 2006 after I had moved back home. I was about to kill myself or something, and I finally just cried and cried in front of the mirror. I don't know why in front of the mirror. It wasn't some crazy ass MySpace thing or anything like that. It just happened to be in front of a mirror. That was my grandmother's mirror, and I cried and cried, and on my dad's side, I don't know what the mirror had to do with anything, and so I cried and cried, and I specifically called out to God for the first time because I had been misled in my faith for about 2 years. 2 years I was misled in my faith, and I gravitated towards like almost the number six, the three numbers of six, three numbers of that in a row. I thought this stuff was kind of cool, but I didn't know what it meant, and that was a problem. I was like misled in my faith, but I didn't do any like satanic rituals or anything like that. And it was mean as crap. I just got misled in my faith like anyone would have who didn't have God and Jesus maybe. And so I was about to kill myself in a small town, and my dream didn't happen. But I had her and the baby, and I just felt so bad about the work I had to do. And so I cried and cried and said, God, please make the depression go away. And I said, please make the depression go away, make all those awful thoughts go away. And I asked God, and I just kept crying in front of the mirror. And then, I don't cry now for stuff like that, I think, but I've cried thousands of times at this house. It got really bad, the depression, but it was really awful. But at that time, it was something that only lasted 2 weeks because I wasn't that mean out in California to do the nice political stuff that I actually believed in. And I was selfish though. That was a problem. That's like the devil was selfish. And I got in really good shape, athletic, looked like a kind of a famous person. But I got better at my face looking better when I was older than that. And it was more like made my body look like really amazing. But it was like CG. But my face, I don't know why I didn't get it like really CGI looking until like something. I just figured out how to do that later with my thoughts, or I don't know why. It just looked better when I was a little older, but I still looked really good. But I was like really good looking anyway. And then so when I got back home, I gained 20 pounds. I was depressed and had to be a real estate agent. I thought my dream didn't happen. And I was about 30. Wait, how old was I? 2006. I was 28. I just turned 28, and we had the baby. And Jim Morrison already died by then. He was already famous and died. And so what I did was I cried and cried in front of the mirror and asked God to make the depression go away. And that night, I was still worried. It didn't come back. And the next day, I was still kind of worried. It still didn't come back. And the third day, it didn't come back. And then I realized about on the third day, I had this like idea. I said, I have $10,000 saved. It was just $10,000. $10,000 saved from being a real estate agent with my mom, because she was really good at it. It was this big, difficult stuff. It was hard to go out there and emotionally support her, and she made tons of money at it, like $80,000 a year or something. But it was hard for me to do and not get to do famous stuff, and I didn't care about making some stupid ass $10,000 or $20,000. I was trying to be the most famous one on earth or something, and that's what motivated me to like work really hard and to have something to look forward to every day in California. And when I got back home, I got depressed when I couldn't do it, and I had been mean to get to the goal, to like keep doing stuff, and that's what made me depressed. The sin caused my depression. So I cried out to God, and I said, please God, make the depression go away. I cried in front of a mirror, and then all the depression was away for 3 days, but I was still worried. I didn't know if it was going to come back, and I still didn't have to be a real estate agent in those 3 days. I don't know why. And so then I decided I'm going to quit being a real estate agent and make a movie with my $10,000 I had saved. And so I just got a really good idea, and then I got really happy, and I got really happy and good feeling to like do the stuff I like. And so then and that was the amazing, beautiful, good thing that God granted me to let me do. The Vampires of Zanzibar. That was a movie, The Vampires of Zanzibar. And so for the next 6 months, I didn't have to be a real estate agent finally, and I had $10,000, and I just lived on that. Dan and I lived on that. We probably lived on like not that much a month, maybe $2,000 a month or $1,800 a month or something. I don't know how much it was, or less. I don't know. And my mom still helped me with money here and there, I think, but I don't know. And I got to quit being a real estate agent, and then I made the entire movie. I got all these props and stuff. I don't know how I paid my bills or how much money it was, but I had $10,000 saved, and I think we didn't have any credit card debt. We may have owed $2,000 on credit card debt or something small like that. And so our bills weren't that much, and we had a free house to stay in. My mom and dad let me stay in. And so I don't know. So I had this screenplay, and I made it into a vampire screenplay. It was a really good screenplay I wrote in film school, and people like cried laughing at it. It was so good. It was entertaining. So I changed it to a vampire screenplay, and then I pitched it to Lloyd Kaufman at Troma, and I asked him if he would pay to make it, and he just didn't want to do it. He doesn't like vampire movies for some reason. This big producer guy, he just likes his own movies. But sometimes he was looking for scripts, and so I tried to write for him before, but I didn't do that. But he distributed some movie. I don't know. He doesn't pay much money, and so he's this he's a big independent filmmaker from New York. He's one of the only ones who really made it outside of Los Angeles, like pretty big movie stuff, and but it's indie stuff, and I don't know, and that would be amazing to pay my bills at. It just hasn't happened for me here. So anyway, I got to make the movie, and I got all these props and organized all the shooting. I got the shooting schedule together, and all the director of photography. I only had to pay him $2,000 for 3 weeks, and he drove here from Florida, and all these people flew in from Iceland and Sweden and Los Angeles and New York, and I did auditions in New York. And I got one of the guys from this movie Poultrygeist, the lead actor in Poultrygeist. He was I thought it was cool because he had a big movie. It was like, I don't know, $800,000 budget or something or whatever, or something. And I wasn't worried about what the budget was. I just liked the movie. It was really weird. When it first came out, I thought it was too gross. I didn't like it. And then, but I got him, Robin Watkins. He played the general in Poultrygeist. And I auditioned him in New York and some other people. And so then they drove down and stayed at my mom and dad's house, and I made this entire movie. It was really fun and good, and it was for God and Jesus. Mostly God. He's the one who I asked for everything to be okay. So I didn't really ask for Jesus at the time, but I remember Jesus growing up. I was raised on God and Jesus, so I was kind to others, even though I just asked God to help me make the depression go away. And then within 3 days, I decided to make the Vampires of Zanzibar, quit being a real estate agent, and then all my depression went away for many years. But after I was done with the Vampires of Zanzibar in 2007, I was 28 years old, and I had to get to work on my dad's houses again, and I just didn't really like it. I just didn't really like it, and it made me kind of depressed, but it didn't make me want to kill myself. It just made me sad and depressed a little bit. And the thing I had to look forward to was I write these funny songs and stuff and film it at like No Shame Theater, or film like a music video, or not really. It was really these funny songs I wrote at No Shame Theater, and maybe some videos or films I did here and there, and it gave me something to look forward to. And I listened to Jack Black. I listened to Tenacious D when I was painting in my dad's house. I had headphones, and I listened to Tenacious D. And it doesn't look like that good of an album because it has a devil on it, but they defeat the devil. They have a rock off against him or something. But it was before that. It was before the Pick of Destiny movie. They were younger, and they had these brilliant songs like Tribute, like this is a tribute to the greatest song in the world. Oh yeah, and songs like that. They're just really good. Like Tribute and Go back to Africa, mother. I don't know. I don't know what it means. And so then they had these cool songs, and that gave me something to look forward to. I listened to it on headphones. I was working on my dad's houses, and then I write music sometimes. And I thought I'd get to be famous, and that was like something to look forward to because I liked that stuff. But I just felt bad working on his houses. I didn't like doing the work, and then so I kept making my films and movies and stuff. But I didn't really make any movies until Rednecks, like years after that. But when I was 30, I think at the end of 2007, after the Vampires of Zanzibar, a problem happened because I had to go back to work for my dad, and I was in a small town and didn't get to make movies, and I had a midlife crisis when I turned 30. And I started looking at women on porn. I would just like stop being around Danica, and I'd just go downstairs and try to feel as free as I could looking at porn and imagine I was with somebody totally different, just like as if like I was just like I got to be famous and stuff, and it was awful. And she felt really bad about it. And I said I thought she was too heavy, and I know she was looking older. And I said that twice to her. I noticed her age and her body weight. And she got really pissed off. And in 2008, just for looking at porn and noticing she was heavy and older one time, and I said it one other time about her butt, like right in front of my friend. I thought it was too heavy, and she was the nicest wife ever. And she used to cover up her body, and she didn't show her butt, and she put a sweater wrapped around her She put a sweater and wrapped around her butt so you couldn't tell what it looked like. And I didn't like that. And I wanted her to look more sexy, like somebody who I got to be with and stuff. And it was awful. And so I started looking at porn. I went crazy because I didn't want to be in a small town that my dream didn't happen. Because see, like way back to high school, I felt like often I felt like the worst one in the class and made fun of for being heavier or my face not looking good enough sometimes. And I just didn't like it. I felt like I had something to prove. And even without all that, I thought I'd get to be famous one day. That was the thing I'd like to work at. And of course, I'd be happy with her, married to her. But like, so what she did for all that, just those things that I just said, looking down on her body and age and looking at porn, like I wouldn't have ever been with another woman. I wouldn't have ever been with anyone else, but I just said mean things and I looked at porn. And then it was like a midlife crisis. And then she went back to Texas and went there with me. And she started talking to some guy on the internet before that, some guy she went to junior high with. And this was awful. She, like they didn't get to go out together. Like her mom made them break up and they had to move to a different school. And so like he wanted to finally get to like be with her. And this was awful. We went to Texas and we stayed at her dad's house, and it was disgusting. It was awful. Made my heart torn out and wanted it. It just felt awful. She went. They kept me back at her dad's house, like these rich houses they always had there. But it's not that bad. Their houses are pretty good. But like, she went out to go meet up with that guy. And she stayed out for 4 hours, and I knew they were doing something wrong because my heart was like torn out, and I could tell, like, because I loved her so much, she was with somebody else, and it felt awful. And she literally had sex with him for like 4 hours and cheated on me in real life and did real adultery to me. And then she walked in, and I was pacing, and I just felt awful. And she walked in the front doors of her dad's house and opened both doors and had like a big smile on her face. Like she thought it was so funny and she was so happy what she did, and she had smeared lipstick on her mouth. And she literally committed adultery. And in the Bible, what I did is not grounds for divorce. And adultery in the heart, what I did with women on the internet, just porn. And I think this girl had a crush on me. But I didn't meet up with her in person. I didn't do any of that in person. This girl had a crush on me, this younger girl, and she said she loved me and all this stuff, and I liked the attention from a younger woman or girl, and it was crazy. But I didn't meet up with her in real life, and Danica, to get me back for all of it, she literally committed adultery on me in 2008. Oh, shit. If I can fly, man. Oh, shit. I don't know, man. To fly. No. I have an anxiety like a fly. I was going to the camera where it's filming. So awful to my audience. That's terrible. It's really bad. And then, and so, okay, hey, and so then, so she cheated on me. So for about a year, it hurt my heart. It didn't hurt. It didn't, like, it wasn't a pain, but it felt like the love in my heart was like I missed her. Or it just felt awful. I didn't miss her. It felt bad, and she would lie when I asked her about it and get angry, and she'd say, I didn't do that, I didn't do anything, and get angry, and I'd have to not ask her again. And finally, a year later, she told me the truth, and she really went out and had sex with that guy for like, I think she did it for 4 hours because she was gone for 4 hours, but she pretended that he just barely did it a little bit one time, and that was it, and it was only like a few seconds or something like that. That's what she said. But I think they just had unprotected sex or something for like 4 hours. Because when she came home, her lipstick was all smeared off, and I think they went to some hotel or something, and she really committed adultery on me. But you're supposed to make marriage work in the Bible, so I didn't know it back then, but you have to make it work no matter what, even if there's only one mess up like that. So then we tried to make the marriage work, and she wanted me to apologize to her and cry when we went back to her dad's house like a year later. I had to like cry in front of her dad and act like I forgave her and stuff, even though she was the one who cheated on me. And they just wanted to do that to me for some reason, for the other stupid little stuff I told you about that I did. that wasn't even grounds for divorce in the Bible. But I guess if she did adultery one time, you're still supposed to try to make it work. So I tried to make it work for another year or two, and then I started going kind of crazy, and I didn't like working in a small town in Roanoke, and I thought, like, I didn't like working at regular jobs, and I wanted to do famous stuff, and I kept having like another midlife crisis, and then so we finally got separated in 2011, I think in January of 2011, and it was after she already committed adultery on me one time, and I went to live at some little house that my dad fixed up like new. It was just some house in the country, well, an okay neighborhood in Garden City in Roanoke, and I lived there and it had a big yard, a giant yard that you had to mow with like I don't know. And so I lived there and I filmed some videos there. Like I have this video called A Beautiful World when I play guitar, and it was in that place, and it had new carpet and he fixed it up like new, but it was just like some small country house. And then it had a huge yard they mowed with this who knows what. And it wasn't that good of a house. And it was just like a cheap house I lived in for a short time. It was like a little 2-bedroom house. And my dad let me live in it for free when we got separated. And it was like kind of far from Roanoke. And I tried to go and party and have a social life. And I'd have to like drive into town, but I like to party, so I didn't want to like drink and have to drive into town or stuff, anything like that. But I didn't. The worst drug I'd ever done was marijuana, besides beer, I think. And but in high school, I think one time this kid gave me acid. That was the only other drug besides marijuana. I never tried any heavy drugs. I never did cocaine or any heavy drugs. But don't ever do acid because it can make you crazy and look really bad or something crazy if you stare at yourself in the mirror too long. And it's just awful. Acid, it's really bad. And then so but I didn't do any of that when I partied. And it was 2011, so I partied a little bit that year, and I was in a bunch of people's movies. I got to be in movies, and it was kind of fun, but it was awful because I went with some other women. I did stuff with other women when I was separated, and then at the end of the year, she was really angry because I actually went with other women, and instead of getting to get back together, this was awful. We got a divorce, and or like on paper, but it was from a man. I think we were still legal. I think God still had us married because I missed her every day and would write to her every day and call her, and she'd actually talk every day back then. And her mom flew into town, and they got in the car and then drove off with the kids. It was like this really dark day. It was rainy, and it was like a gray, dark day, and it was at the end of 2011, and I had always gotten to be with the kids every day. And I think there was one other time in 2009, when she brought the kids there for a year, and that was really sad. And then we got back together in 2010, and then in 2011 we got separated, and then we got a divorce at the end of the year because I partied and like tried to party with other women and get close to them and stuff, and thought it was cool. It was stupid. It was awful. It was really bad because I literally tried to fornicate with them and stuff. I didn't know there was anything wrong with it, and then she got angry at it, and she drove out of town with the babies, with Rowan and Ivan when they were little. And it was this dark day, and she just drove down the driveway with her mom, and I just started crying, and it just was awful. Every single day I'd cry and just felt this lack of love for like an entire year. Well, just I missed them, and I was also depressed, and I had anxiety about STDs. Looking back, it's funny, but I could barely function in society for about 3 years after that, just for the little fornicating I did a few times in 2011 when we were separated. And I had anxiety about every STD, and I tried to read more about it, to study, and then it made it worse. And then I learned about, like, I was worried about every STD and every statistic about it, and I thought maybe I could have had AIDS. even though I was only with women, and I was very careful about it too. And there's a few of them in 2011 when I partied, and it was awful. And I got in good shape again. I lost like 50 pounds of fat, because before that I was like kind of fat and like a dad bod or whatever. I lost 50 pounds. I got really athletic and got abs, and was kind of skinny because I partied more, but I didn't do any heavy drugs. I may have done marijuana, but I don't want to say because I don't want to get in trouble. And then after that, I got a divorce, and it was really sad. And every day I cried, and I think I hoped to die. And I tried to smoke cigars, but then I thought I'd get cancer from STDs. I was carcinophobic, and I was stuck in my house, and I couldn't even open up the blinds without thinking AIDS or something. As soon as the neighbor could have seen me from his window, or herpes, or every STD I worried about, or cancer, and I was so worried about it. And that lasted about 3 years. But after about a year, Danica wanted to move back home, and she wasn't making much money, and so she wasn't making any money back then. Her mom and dad let her stay at one of the rental houses, and it was a pretty good house on a golf course. It was on a golf course, and we had unlimited food from the restaurant, and we could just walk to the golf course restaurant and eat this big plate of nachos and any kind of food we wanted anytime we felt like it. But it was sad, and she didn't have to work, but she had to raise the kids. And back in Roanoke, I'd still have to work on my dad's houses here and there, but I didn't work that much. And then but I was afraid. I was like really afraid, and stayed indoors like all year, every day, almost every moment was awful, and it was the worst feeling. And I started getting depressed again, and it wasn't that bad, but it was depressed. I think I had hoped to die here and there a few times, but not that bad. And then I had to quit smoking a cigar, because here and there I'd smoke an e-cigarette or cigar when I was partying, and I quit that because I thought I'd get cancer, and then I was worried about cancer and STDs. I had carcinophobia, and I was afraid of STDs, whatever that caused. I was really afraid of STDs. And then that lasted all of 2012. And I tried to name myself John Angel. I tried to name myself John Angel and do like cool videos, and they just looked stupid. And I was really worried about STDs. You can maybe tell in the music videos I did. And I was worried about STDs, and I did this video called The Sorcerer and the Girl, just some random video I did with Corey, and another one like A Beautiful Night, and at the end of the year I gained like 50 pounds of fat back because I was so worried, and I was worried about STDs. I couldn't go anywhere, so I gained back 50 pounds, and then I filmed the Slash video, the Axl Rose parody, and the Danzig video at the end of 2012, and those were really funny, and Danica liked them, but I was like heavier in them. I had gained 50 pounds of fat, and then so those are actually really good videos. There was no worry about STDs or any of that cancer or anything like that from the STDs. And so then after I filmed those, and maybe I did the Pee Wee Herman one then. I think I also did the Pee Wee Herman. No, that was years later. That was in 2014. But then at the end of 2012, after those two funny videos, Danica wanted to move back home, and so it was a miracle. I was writing her every day, and she said she wanted to move back home, and we almost got back together, but this was pretty bad. Like, for some reason, I had a problem or something. I liked young women, and I don't know what it was. I just had high standards, and I wanted her to look like a famous, really good looking, like a teenager or something, even though she was like 34 35 in 2012. I think she was 36. She was 36 and raising the kids. She was a mom, and we almost got back together, and I was pretty bad. I had a problem. Because in junior high, it was like I had always looked at girls' butts, and there's nothing I could do. I didn't try to look at their butts, but I couldn't be with any of them. And every day, I'd hoped to be with them since I was like 12 years old, since I started puberty. And I couldn't be with any of them until I got married. And she was the only one I went all the way with. And, uh, and so then, like, she started getting older and had kids. And I had never planned to have kids, but she wanted kids, and I loved her. And I couldn't live without her. And I was hoping to be famous and have her as a girlfriend. I didn't really want to get married, but I loved her too much, and she wanted to get married and have kids, and it wasn't something I wanted to do. But once the kids were born, I loved them so much I couldn't be without them, and I really loved her and the kids. But I just didn't feel happy without getting to be famous, at least, and still get. And then I would have been happy with her and the kids getting to be famous. But I had a midlife crisis again. And it was like at the end of 2012, and then it was awful. I went to stay at them at her dad's house at the golf course or whatever, and we were gonna move back home, and I was gonna get back together, but she didn't love me. She wasn't in love with me. That was a problem, because she loved me, but she wasn't in love with me, and she didn't like to have sex with me anymore. She just didn't like to have sex with me anymore, because after I partied in 2011 was with some women, she didn't like to be with me anymore. But she was actually with some men too. She was with this one guy. It made me really angry that she was with, and I think a few men too. I was with a few women, and she was with a few men, but she just didn't want to have sex and be in love with me a bunch. She didn't like having sex with me anymore, and was like angry about what we had been through. And I don't know why, but she was with this guy. It was awful. I'd tell you names of them, but there are a few, and I was with a few. So it was awful. But in 2011, because we thought we were supposed to get a divorce, and we didn't know it was wrong, so we got separated. And she was with some men too, but she for some reason got really angry at me and left town. And she took it more personally and got angry about it when I was with people. And I really didn't like it if she was with anyone. It tore my heart out. It made me feel really bad, and it was just awful. But so at the end of 2012, I went to Texas, but she just didn't want to have sex or be in love with me. But she said she loved me, but and she lived together, but she just didn't. It was like it was not the same, and so I went upstairs with the kids, and this is awful. I hate to admit to this. People might think I'm mean or something, but I watched some TV show. This is really bad, and I watched some like TV show on the Disney Channel. It wasn't child porn at all, but it was like National Lampoon's Vacation. Like, you know, that teenage girl who's the daughter in the family. There's something like that, and it showed a mom and dad who were like 42 or something, like a little older than us. And it was like they just looked like crap. I thought they were like out of shape, and I thought they looked stupid, and they were nerdy, and I didn't want to look like that already. I still wanted to look really good, and they just showed this older mom and dad who were like the dumb ones, and then they showed this like really attractive, and I called it back then hot. It was awful. I called it hot. I called Danica hot too, but they showed this really attractive young teenage girl who's in the family, who was like the one like Christina Applegate in Married with Children or something, and it showed the stupid nerdy parents, and it showed the cool teenage girl and her little brother, and I was like, I got really excited about it for some reason. I thought it was like it was stupid, and I thought for some reason we could have been back together as a family, and then but she just wasn't in love with me the same way she used to be, and she didn't like to have sex anymore, and so I got really excited about it. Then the kids were watching, but they didn't understand back then. I could just look at stuff like that and it was like normal and they didn't even know. And I was like looking at the girl and the young teenage girl, and it was awful. And I thought, like, that's what I want. That's what I wanted to be, with somebody like that. And it was so bad. And then so we moved back to Roanoke, and I moved all her stuff, and it took like 2 months and all this money, and I had to like paint all of this house, and I barely made it through. So much work to move them back, and it cost like $12,000. And back then there was a huge amount of money to move, and it took 2 months work loading up all their stuff in boxes and bags. And we moved, and instead of moving in together, it was awful. I feel so bad for Rowan and Ivan. And then they moved to this other house that I had partied in. It was awful. I had partied in that house, this house that I bought. It was like the first house I bought and owned. And then they moved into the house after we did more renovations to it. It was really awful, but it was good. And then they liked the house and they stayed in there. And then I asked her if she wanted to get back together anyway. And I said, forget this stupid teenage girl. And I was going to make an entire movie to celebrate after we did all the work to move. And I had to paint the house and renovate it a little bit more, so it was worth more money back then or something like that. And I owned the house. And my dad helped us renovate it. He used to do most of the work back then. It was so stupid. He arranged the work, and he got angry later. But years later, I had to work on that house for like so much, and he was still angry that. But it was like, so they moved into that house, and I moved into this little brick ranch out in the kind of in the woods that we used to live in together. And so we lived in two separate houses, but I would just hang out at their house every day, and everything was okay again. And I felt like everything was okay because they're back in Roanoke. But I still had anxiety, and I wanted to I felt so fat and heavy from having to move all their stuff, and like I barely made it through and had to paint all the walls in this house for them to look good. It had to be her color. It had to be like light yellow. The entire house she wanted painted light yellow, and she had to put up a fence for the little dogs, and I had to do all this work, and it cost like $12,000, and moved all her stuff. And then she moved in, and then I was like, okay, let's make a movie. I'm going to make a movie to celebrate, and I was going to spend it on credit cards. And so I was going to make Rednecks, and I wanted her to be the lead actress in it. And I kept asking her, I was just going to be with her anyway. And I wanted her to be the lead actress in Rednecks, the movie Rednecks I filmed. And I thought it'd be the most special thing to have a real on-screen love. I thought there's something really special about it to have a real on-screen love. So I kept trying to get her in the lead role, and she would get angry and say she didn't want to do it. Or I don't know if she got angry that time, but she didn't want to do it. She didn't want to play the lead actress for some reason. I don't know why. And she just, I don't know. But so she just, and I don't know why. But for some reason she couldn't be the lead. She just refused to be the lead actress. I must have asked her again and again every day if she would just be the lead actress, and she wouldn't do it. And I don't know why she wouldn't be able to play the lead actress in Rednecks. So I thought I'll just start partying or something. I started smoking weed to lose weight because it used to make me lose weight. And I started working out a bunch at my house and looking at porn and imagining some other woman because she wouldn't be in the movie. And then I thought I'll meet somebody else and marry somebody. And I found this young girl who looked like a teenager, and I tried to get her to star in the movie, and I thought I'd get to marry her or something. But in real life, we just had no chemistry, and she just didn't, I didn't kiss her or anything. I thought somehow how it was with God, with Danica, how God brought us together. No matter how, I remember how much we didn't have to put moves on each other or anything. God brought me and Danica together. He did all of that for us, and so it was easy for us to And Danica was the one who asked me to start being intimate and stuff. I didn't have to ask her at all when we first got married. And so with this random person who I thought I had a crush on, this young teen looking girl who was 23 or 26 or something, 20, I don't know how old she was. and she didn't know how to act or do anything that I did, like write screenplays like Danica did, or act or do the real work to make movies. She didn't know any of that stuff, but she tried to model and take pictures of herself just looking good, and so I tried to get her to, and I asked her to star in the movie, and I got her to be in the movie instead, but she wouldn't be with me. And then one day when I drove home, she stayed at the movie set, and she ended up messing around, or kind of doing all this kind of sex stuff with this other guy in the movie with Royce, and she was the lead character in Rednecks, and that kind of made my heart hurt, but not like with Danica. It was like a small way because I had a crush on that girl, but it was wrong. But Danica, I've loved her for like 20 years, and so then we filmed Rednecks, and I had to finish it, even though I was really pissed off at that guy Royce. He did all these mean ass things to me. Like, he told me before, right when I started filming, he told me to take twice as much medicine. He told me to double the medicine. And I said, hey, that's a good idea. I'll make all the anxiety away about the STDs and stuff. And so I took twice as much medicine. It gave me a huge appetite, and I was trying to look really athletic, like a famous person for the movie. So I took off my shirt in one of the scenes in the movie, and I had to put on an A-frame T-shirt the entire rest of the movie to cover up my body because it just didn't look as good as I had really gotten in shape for that movie, for Rednecks. And because I had this huge appetite, and it was just insatiable, and I had almost no desire to work out because of the risperidone. Risperidone does that in high doses. It makes people heavier, and so I gained. So I had to. It was a huge struggle to not eat food, and it was so hard to work out during Rednecks. And I thought I had a crush on that girl, but she just. We never did anything together. We didn't do anything together in real life. We didn't kiss or make out or have sex or anything like that. But we just pretend, and I was like afraid to even put my arm around her in the movie because I thought God would do all that if she was supposed to be my wife. And then we didn't do any of that. And then I had to finish the movie, even though I found out Royce was doing stuff with her at night, like in a sleeping bag together or something, or wherever they slept at that guy's house, or who knows where. And it made me really angry, and I was gonna stop filming the movie, but I couldn't have stopped filming the movie. I was gonna kick Royce out, but I had to just film the entire movie, even though I knew Royce was having sex with her, or not having sex, but doing stuff like that. And then later they really did have sex, they said, but I shouldn't say. I don't know if that's true. Maybe they didn't really have sex, but I don't know. But anyway, I don't care about it now. And so then, as soon as the movie wrapped and I was done filming the movie, I went back home, and I had this huge appetite, and I still don't realize that I was eating twice as much medicine, so it gave me this huge appetite, and I started editing the movie, and I couldn't stop eating, and I would just eat so much food, and in a few months, and I got to edit the movie. I didn't have to work as hard for my dad. He let me do that here and there, let me not work for like a few months or something if I wanted to make a movie. It's really nice. And then I gained 50 pounds. I gained 50 pounds in a few months of fat. And then I'd still hang out at Danica's house with the kids like every day. And she was kind of angry that I put that girl in the movie, but I didn't have sex with that girl or do anything like that or even kiss her. And then I'd still get to see her and Danica and the kids every day, and that was good. Like, we were still married, and we'd drive places together. It was as if we were still married, but she wouldn't have sex, and that sucked. That she wouldn't be intimate with me or be married. She wouldn't be like a regular married couple. I guess we were still married. We just didn't have sex, and then something weird went wrong. I got the H1N1 flu. I didn't get any STDs at all, as far as I know. They didn't show up on any tests. But I was so worried about it for a year or two. I kept getting tested. I thought maybe years later AIDS could show up and it would have been dormant or something. I didn't know. And then I got tested like 6 times just from being with a few young women or younger women. I was never with anyone older. I wasn't attracted to anyone older besides Danica. She's older than me, but only 1 year. She's not really older. We're about the same age. And I married her. She's 1 year older. I was always attracted to her. was always attracted to Danica. But so then like, and she was with some people too in that year in 2011. So then after that, I had to like suffer worrying about STDs, like a shut in every day for a year, and then had to make myself go out in public. But I was still worried about STDs. And even when I filmed Rednecks, if I drank too much coffee, I was like really, I had like some, I was like worried about that stuff back then. And it took 3 years to go away, or 3.5 years, and it totally went away. All the worry about STDs, and it was it never came back. It never came back. And that was a miracle that finally went away. It took 3 years of worrying about that, and then so in 2012, is this filming? Yeah. Hi. I don't know. And then then 2012, she moved back home, moved all the way back home, and to celebrate, I was going to make a movie, Rednecks, and she just wouldn't play the lead. And so I cast somebody else in it, and then she got angry, but it wasn't that bad. And then I gained 50 pounds of fat, and she thought it was like funny. And then I figured out it was from my medicine, so I got on less medicine, and I lost weight. But I got the flu, and it made it so I could barely breathe one time. It felt like I was breathing just strong. I was really fat. It was awful. I thought I was going to die. And the H1N1 flu does something where it makes it hard to breathe, and it's like COVID. It's kind of like COVID, and it was so hard to get air. And then I went to the doctor, and he was a really nice doctor in Roanoke, and I really got along with him back then. And it was at the Brambleton. It was on Brambleton Avenue. I always got along with him. I liked being in there, and they liked me. And I had some doctors I went to in there, and he said, and that was like my favorite hospital that I remember going to. It was really normal, and I always felt like okay, and they helped me with anything that went wrong. And this doctor in there told me, your medicine is too high, and it causes your appetite to be too high, because they asked me what prescription I was on. And so I said, oh, and I realized that, and so I stopped taking the medicine, and I lowered the dosage, and then I instantly started losing weight. And so then I got in better shape, but I didn't get that skinny. Excuse me. And then that was 2013. So I filmed Rednecks and edited it at the end of the year, and it wasn't that much work to do Rednecks compared to Crazy Animal and The Vampires of Zanzibar. And then in 2014, that's when I got the flu and could barely breathe. And then went to Mysticon. I felt like fatter and heavier, and wore a big like 3-button collar shirt, and just felt like I didn't look that good, and just kind of hung out there and supported Rednecks, and felt like a nerd, and just I felt like my face didn't look as good. And then I just went home, and I started to lose weight after that. And then it was 2014. Oh yeah, I started hanging out with David Frost. David Frost, and he was determined to be in a band with me, and he made me like work at the songs, and even when I didn't feel like it, and he'd show up at my house, and he said, practice is at 6 o'clock or something like that, and and he'd show up at my house, and I didn't really feel like it, but I had to play no matter how I felt. And so we wrote these songs, but then it was fun sometimes, and we wrote these really good songs. Well, I wrote I think most of the songs, but I kind of let him do the melodies for some of the songs, and I let him come up with the melodies for the songs, but I would have just rather come up with my own ones, but it was just to be nice to him. But some of the songs I wrote most of them I wrote them all myself, and then some of them I let him come up with some cool sounding thing that he like made up. And then so we recorded like a bunch of songs and did an entire album, and Matt Shively helped us record it. This other guy who was in some band that was like, I don't know, a famous signed band. One time he went on tour and then he moved back home. Now he's a disc jockey. He's a disc jockey on NPR, and so he makes okay money. He's like works for the radio stations. He's one of those people you hear a voice on the radio station and stuff. So he's okay. He's one of my good friends, Matt Shively, and he helped us produce the music and to help me to work hard for them to like try to get to work hard on the music. So we made an album of songs, and then I produced all these music videos that summer in 2014, and I made these really good quality music videos, like 7 of them, and the plan that I was hoping to for my YouTube channel finally get big, and I made these really good music videos, and it just got less views. And I had to promote some of the videos so people would finally watch the art that I spent so much effort on. So I spent like a few $100 promoting the videos so they'd get like 30,000 views and stuff. And it sucked. And like my best work, like YouTube didn't want to promote that. They had their own ideas about like what was a big video, but YouTube's good. But for some reason, my best work at editing and stuff really hasn't seen much of the money. It hasn't made much money, but it got out there to audiences and people saw it, and it's just that's been a problem because the other work I wasn't happy at. I got depressed at working on houses, and it was just awful. And so it was like, and then so like in 2014 I finished all the music videos, and it still didn't get famous. So I thought I got to get in really good shape. So I went in this crazy extreme diet, and my back had hurt. I wasn't in that good shape when I made the music videos. I don't know why my back hurt back then. My back hasn't hurt in 9 years. Since then it hasn't, because this was awful what happened after that. I got really strong and almost like a military beast or something. But back then I didn't ever act like a real beast. But it was really bad what happened after that. So I kept trying to get more famous and make enough views. So after the music videos, like my dad was pissed because I just wouldn't work. I tried to like kind of like not work and keep getting money from him and to pay my bills. And I made all these music videos and did the budgets for the films and like made it professional and stuff. Not the films, but the rednecks and stuff. And he was pissed that I just didn't want to work because it felt bad and made me want to die. But I'd work sometimes that I just didn't like doing it. It made me depressed, and so I kept trying to kind of like not work, and I'd work as hard as I can imagine at my films, videos, music videos, my work in music and videos and films. And back then it was like, the more high quality stuff instead of random videos. Now I have like 2,000 random videos, and some of them are really high quality, some of them are really good, but some of them are kind of random. And then so at the end of 2014 he was pissed, and the whole country was pissed that Obama was still in office, and I think Russia would have killed us or something if they put another liberal in office and made it. And I think they thought the way they thought it would be like a jungle in Africa. And I had to try to starve myself to look famous enough to finally get enough views on my YouTube channel to look like really famous, because the music videos didn't work and I thought I didn't look good enough. So I starved myself on a like extreme alkaline vegan diet. I had to be 100%. I thought it had to be 100% organic, and I hated restaurants because they didn't have real organic food. And I wanted it to be vegan, ethical vegan, because I really liked animals, and alkaline vegan diet, so I'd get like really skinny or lose body fat and it'd be strong enough, and then I looked just really skinny. I got down to 165 pounds, and I was still lifting weights and stuff, and I got pretty skinny and had kind of long hair. My dad doesn't like long hair, and he wanted me to work and actually make money, and he was giving me tons of money. And he got really pissed, and the whole country was pissed that like Obama was in office and all the Republicans were angry, and they thought it'd get turned into a third world country with monkeys in the trees and really warm. And so I stopped taking all my medicine because I thought it was like some conspiracy that they made me be a certain way with the medicine. And so I thought if I stopped all the medicine, then I wouldn't be dependent on it anymore. but then it just was awful. I couldn't sleep for about 2 weeks, and I couldn't sleep for about 2 weeks, and I might get half an hour or 2 hours of sleep every night, and but I didn't notice because I had no appetite without the medicine, and I was getting in skinnier and better shape. So I thought, hey, this looks really good, and I thought I was looking better and skinny or something like that. And so I thought that I didn't notice that I was hardly getting any sleep at all. And so after about 2 weeks of it, I started hallucinating and seeing hell. And I think Jesus and God showed me hell and this really scary stuff. I started to see it, and I thought there was like this military craft. There was a $300 million craft. It was literally, the thought that I got from it was that it was $300 million. $300 million. I don't know why it cost that much. And it concealed itself in the clouds, and it was following me around outside because I kept trying to get more and more famous. And it was like, I don't want to say who it is because it's just probably wrong and it doesn't make any sense, but I think I wrote it all in my mind because I tried to be the most brilliant screenwriter in the world. So then I made up this crazy, horrifying story that I was so afraid of my worst fears. I thought it was Obama's father, and he was really, really old, and he pretended that he was dead, but he was still alive and really powerful, and he tried to like hurt others with all his power and try to like hold them down while he was like empowering himself to live longer. And he was in some craft, and he was tormented and tortured, and he still got old as shit anyway. And he was like this horrible. His face was so old, and he looked whiter than I saw him in pictures, but he's still black, and his limbs were all cut off, and it was horrific. He was so old and shitty looking. He felt like shit and didn't want to live anymore, and just felt like a depressed old, just like so bad feeling inside. And he went around like in his military, his alien space, it was more like an alien spacecraft, because when I first reached out to him, it was in California. I did the lesser magic stuff. I tried to reach out to aliens to strengthen my body to live longer, look better, live to be like 150 years old. And so I tried to reach out to him in California, but I didn't realize in California their number one industry was military planes. Back then it was more than the entertainment industry, but now it's just the entertainment industry. So their number one industry is the military planes. And I think like somebody back east or somebody in power who's like a big Republican person with money, I think they thought, oh, you want to reach out to you want to go to LA and you'll see what you find with the biggest industry there, not entertainment industry, but military crafts. And so this craft used to follow me around at night and terrify me and communicate with me through the bushes. And I didn't know who it was back then, but by the time it was like 2014, I was so afraid of it. Sometimes at night through the windows, I'd think I could see it, and he'd hide in the clouds. It had some ability to control the weather and clouds, and he'd only show up when it was cloudy outside, and I could hear him hovering. I could hear the craft hovering. It was kind of a little bit windier, and but it was a human being, and I thought it was an alien all those years because he had a brilliant IQ. He'd horrify me, and he'd communicate with me through a bush. And like the bush would change shapes many times a second to very distinct like very distinct, like almost like a brilliant work of art, like many times a second. But that wasn't the brilliant work of art that I saw. That was something else. But like it was like a face that looked just like a photorealistic face or something, and it would use that to communicate with me really hyper fast, but not hyper, just really fast. Like, and he had like a 20,000 IQ or something like that, or 1,000 IQ, way faster than a human being. And he didn't even need the English language to communicate with me. And he would communicate with me in a bush by seeing, like the bush, the wind would blow the bush, and it would look like a face, like it would be like some kind of specific face, like it would look like a pirate. And based on a pirate, it would communicate with me the idea of a pirate, and then it would get the thought from me, what I thought of a pirate, and I'd think like a thief or something like that. And then it would show another image to communicate with me in the bush, and this would all happen many times within 1 second. and it was so brilliant that it didn't need the English language to communicate with me. And it was horrifying and terrifying because I thought it was terrifying. I thought it was an alien, and I thought like he was outside the window, and like he would communicate with me in a bush outside, but you can't really see the way the bush. But like, that bush, like maybe it looks like that's his mouth and it'd be two eyes, but it happened many times a second. And then I thought like he'd be peering in from here, like an alien, but I thought he'd be like right outside the window and be terrified of it, and he would like be from his alien craft, and I could hear it hovering the whole time. I could hear the engine of it. It was like this super high tech, like I could just hear it go or something like that. However it sounded back then, and it conceal itself in the clouds. And then it scared me here and then out the window until 2014, and then I thought it was Obama's father, and I could see his face like in my thoughts or something. Like he showed me what his face looked like, and he was just tortured. And this old person, he had no arms and legs, and he felt so bad. And he had to continue living by being like really mean to others and like holding them down with his power, like everywhere. Like he'd find someone to do that to, and it like empowered him to keep living. And he just felt so alone and tormented in this $300 million spacecraft. And so I felt sorry for him, and like with all my, this is when I hadn't slept for 2 weeks, and I imagined putting like a Christian cross around his neck, like a necklace or a rosary beads, and then I told him to go be Groot in California. I said, go be Groot, just stop suffering and just feel good and go to California and be Groot. And so they had already made Guardians of the Galaxy 1, and then he left and never came back again. I think that one in particular never came back again. And he went to California, and then and within a few days or a week or two, James Gunn announced that he was gonna film Guardians of the Galaxy 2. And I think this really happened at the end of 2014. And I know it was at the end of 2014. And then this weird ass crap happened. Like I thought Obama was flying over in a helicopter. I was like staying in my house and trying to be really skinny and to lose weight to look famous. And, and I couldn't sleep for like 2 weeks, and I just wouldn't go into work. I didn't know my dad was pissed, and he just wanted me to work, and I didn't understand why. And I kept staying in my house, and he kept giving me money, and I produced all these music videos. And I produced all these music videos and an entire feature film, and he had to pay for it, or I paid for it on a credit card. And he was pissed, and the entire country was pissed that Obama was there. I think Russia was gonna bomb us or something and make us into a third world jungle with a warm climate. And and if another liberal came to office, and they're like really pissed, and I hadn't slept in 2 weeks, and then they did some weird ass shit to my brain to make me start seeing, like I could start seeing hell, and this elaborate world existed out there of zombies who they'd keep alive. There was people after they died, they keep them alive with genetic manipulation. It was hell, and it was very real. It was like really scary, and it horrified me. And it was like a horrific thing that I'd see these scenes. I'd have to go out and look at the neighbor's house or something back at the house when I didn't live out in the woods, and they pulled people up on crosses. They're mean, like they do in hell. These little demons and these bigger creatures who pulled up my neighbor on a cross, and I watched the whole thing from my backyard where I lived, and they pulled him up on a cross because I hadn't slept much in 2 weeks, and they pulled him up on a cross and started beating his arms and legs. Like they would not let him go, and they kept beating his arms and legs like in hell, and he couldn't get even a small good feeling, and it was unrest. He was at unrest. And then the only freedom he had to feel okay, they brought his 16-year-old daughter in to do sex acts on him, and that was the only way he could alleviate the pain. And by doing incest with his daughter, is a horrific bad sin,
that kept him in hell further. And that's how they kept people down in hell, sinning worse and worse. And they keep them there literally in a very real way for all eternity. They used genetic manipulation to keep them alive after they died in their caskets. They had these creatures who could dig up and replace the body with a genetic clone in a casket. And that's when hell began. They brought them down and brought them back to life with genetic manipulation and kept them alive for centuries. Like, if I didn't do what they said, they're going to put me down there for 400 years and cut off my arms and legs and put me in a little cage and rape my ass and have creatures born out of my ass with all these horrors done to me. And it was horrifying. And I saw on social media, Rob Zombie. I thought he was one of the people. Who could go up and down to the hell world, and but he just acted like that, and he makes it up. And once I read in the Bible, what reality is about, that was not real. I was just crazy, and I didn't know what I was talking about back then. I could see all this like hell. But Rob Zombie's a human being. He can't go down to hell. There's no Illuminati. And when I really found God and Jesus, all those worries about planes, I was so worried about any plane that flew over. I thought it was some big government thing. And I thought it was like the Illuminati or aliens. And I didn't know what it was. And I believed in all this weird stuff like zombies and I didn't know what was true. I didn't know. See, I was misled in my faith. I got misled in my faith again back then because I didn't really read enough about the Bible to know what's true. So I was misled in my faith. So now I'm not worried about any of that. Usually I just leave the doors open here. Nobody even walk in and hurt me. I really found a way to forgive others. And so like I have another friend, my friend Jevin, like he got misled in his faith, and eventually God did something to him because he was more misled in his faith than I knew. And this happens to many people. And he thought little gnomes were real. And he'd go, I see you. And when he was in the dark and stuff, because he was kind of crazy, he didn't have God and Jesus. And he thought gnomes were real. He thought like little gnomes were real. So all that crazy ass stuff I thought was real, like the Illuminati or aliens. I thought they were aliens, but I didn't know what it was, and none of it's real because the Bible is real, and it would mention all of it in the Bible if it's real. So it said there used to be Nephilim on earth. There used to be a long time ago. They're not here anymore. And so there's no weird ass creatures besides angels who are aliens. All the aliens are angels. And they may have some government crafts, but the only people flying them, they may have some weird government crafts that can conceal themselves in the clouds and stuff, but they're human beings. They get old as shit anyway. They can't make themselves live much longer. I think that's crazy because really our bodies die. The demons aren't going to keep us alive with genetic manipulation. I think that's crazy, and I thought it in my mind because I thought with genetic manipulation back then I could live to be like 1,000 years old or 150 or something, and we'd get alien technology by reaching out with NASA and stuff. That's why we wanted to live longer and reach out to aliens, I thought. But NASA's good. They'll just reach out to angels now. Aliens are actually angels. Aliens are angels. They can't hurt us. They're good. They might be kind of scary, like you think that, they might make your hair stand on end or whatever, on wherever that is. But they might make you worried or scared, but they'll never hurt you. They're just angels. They're just angels. They can't hurt you. They're from the heavens. God made angels. Those are the only weird creatures on earth besides human beings and stuff we already know. From what I've studied in the Bible, there might be a bear or something. It sounded like a bear, but there are creatures that we know what they are already, and so I'm not afraid of any of it anymore. I'm not afraid of any of it. I can go out into town, and I'm not worried about
weird ass Illuminati or Egyptian aliens from 2,000 years ago because I smoked weed and thought I saw one in a closet or something, and I was just misled in my faith, and I didn't like people do that. Like I'm not the only one. There's so many people who get misled in their faith and they believe the weirdest things because the devil tricks them. It's the devil's tricks. It's not true. He makes them think that a gnome is going to exist or a weird creature. That stuff's scary. One time I thought out here there was a nymph, and it's just because I listened to Led Zeppelin too much. I listened to Led Zeppelin, and I really liked Houses of the Holy, and I think they're into the occult. And it really worried me. It really worried me, but I like Led Zeppelin. I want to listen to their music again, but the problem was that looked like somebody ran in there. It was kind of scary, but the problem was that this girl who called herself Nymph, like a nymph something or another. I thought I almost invited her to the house. It was awful. I almost invited her to the house, this young woman, and that was the problem, I think. So it may not have been, and she didn't come here. Thank God. I never want to let her here again, because it made me think that like the baby, who's my daughter, would one day be like a nymph in the woods, like one of those like who seduces people or something like that, and it made me so worried. I got so creeped out by it. It sounded like I could hear up there singing on the mountain, and I got so scared about it. Oh shit! Oh shit! Yeah, that would just be an alien. I'm not afraid of them anymore. I mean, an angel. An angel. All aliens are angels. So, what is on that tree? And like, there's no weird ass things because it's on that tree. It's just a tree bark. See, it's just really what stuff is in nature. There's nothing scary out there that I know of besides angels and good creatures that God created. The only other, besides all the animals we know of on Earth and creatures, and maybe a few kind of normal ones that are undiscovered yet, like just regular stuff out on the Earth, the only weird creatures are angels. Are angels. All the aliens are angels, so they can't hurt us. So when you read the Bible and study the Bible, you know the truth about everything, and God is really good, and everything is okay because the sin is already destroyed. When Jesus died on the cross, he said it is finished. That means the sin is going to be destroyed. So we have to be good and kind on earth to make it to heaven, because that weird ass occult shit will make people crazy, suffer in torment on earth, depressed. It hurts them on earth, and it also could send them to hell for all eternity. So don't believe in that crap. Read the Bible, meaning the New Testament, especially about Jesus in the New Testament. Okay, I'm going to go. Praise God, praise Jesus. Praise God, praise Jesus. Believe in God and Jesus and you'll be saved. I'm trying to look good so I can like make it to California, making my movies, and I don't know what went wrong, but I think my dad will let me work for him on homes again. I don't know. Maybe it'll be okay at this age. I've already been here 17 years, so I don't know. Maybe I'll get to keep the house. I don't know. I'm gonna go, but I may have to sell it and go to California. So I don't know. So I'm probably gonna have to leave. I noticed that I opened up the door. Maybe some little bugs came in. I hope not. And so I'm gonna go. But when you have God and Jesus, that's what everything's about. Like, there's no Illuminati. Like, there's no weird ass creatures in here unless it's an alien. I mean, an angel. If it was an alien, it'd be an angel. So it can't. Like, I thought I saw somebody run in here, but it's probably just like a moth. And the Bible will tell you about all that, so you're not afraid of it anymore. Like, I'm not afraid of any of those alien crafts at all anymore. I can go out in public, and I'm not worried about anything, pretty much. Here and there, I might get anxiety or whatever. So I'm going to go. Praise God.